Fred walked me to the Stratford, making me a good half-hour late for my shift the very first time I went to his office. Now that I was a college student and Fred was my teacher, I could see he was the handsomer of the two brothers, shyer, his nose slimmer, his teeth a bit crooked and his heavy-lidded eyes invasive in their interest. Blunt fingers riffled my first paper, a discussion of authorial point of view in Pride and Prejudice, and it seemed to me that even my childishly scrawled sheets looked beautiful as he flicked his thumbnail at the edge of the pages, making a click, 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 as he complimented me, said I had a gift for literary criticism. He wanted my conclusion rewritten, drawing a clearer parallel between Elizabeth Bennet's instinct toward self-awareness and Austen's intrusive narrative position. I nodded enthusiastically, feeling my hair bounce on my shoulders. I was proud of my hair, straight and blonde, an anomaly not merely in the Jewish ghettos of South Philly, but even in my own family. Delighted by his approval. He was walking my way, he said, and when I said I wasn't heading home but to work, to the Stratford, he reddened. "That's okay," he said, if I didn't mind. I didn't. We cut across the campus, stepping around dingy snow that insisted on drifting over the shoveled paths, ice crackling under our boots. My navy coat, the one that had come from my sister Helen's employer, was barely needed. The heat between us embarrassing, a public nakedness. To his credit, Fred remained able to talk, telling me about his interest in folklore and ballad, about his dissertation, about the feelers he'd received from English departments as far away as Syracuse, as prominent as Harvard. As we passed the faculty club, Fred stopped to greet Professor Bricklin, the creative writing instructor I'd had the previous semester. "This is Rose," he said. "Rose Klein." I almost wished I were invisible then. "Rose Klein, yes." Professor Bricklin's gaze scraped down me from head to toe. He was one of those very large men with piggish eyes buried under the folds of his brows and cheeks, and yet his glare was ferocious. "She took my intro course, Professor Nemser." I stood my ground, silently meeting Bricklin's gaze with what I hoped was pride, if not defiance. Of course he remembered me. He was the kind of man who would remember girls like me more than the others. "I can only hope that her work ethic has improved." Fred took me by the elbow. "This is my friend Rose." I suspect, looking back, that this was precisely when we teetered over into love. We walked steadily down Broad Street for nearly half a block before I thought to thank him. But I didn't. I pretended it hadn't happened. As did he. I never told him that Professor Bricklin liked his female students to sit on his ample lap while he critiqued their work. I let Fred think Bricklin found me mediocre rather than stubborn. 5 months later, we were married. I was pregnant with Natalie, although I didn't know it. 2 months after that, we were in North Bennington, Vermont, spending our first night with Stanley Edgar Hyman and his wife, the novelist Shirley Jackson, in their sprawling, messy, book and kid-filled home on the hillside just off the Bennington College campus. It was about money, because we needed it. Now that I was 19 years old and pregnant, it was about money because Stanley's department wanted to hire Fred, even though he hadn't finished his dissertation. It was about money because money was the nutrition I'd been starved of, and what I would always crave. Oh, why pretend? Money was what I called it, not knowing any better. But of course it was always about love. I knew who she was, Shirley, and I'd read some of her essays and stories in Ladies' Home Journal or other magazines. I knew she was supposed to be a witch, that she had lots of children, and I thought she would be slim and tall with a wicked sense of humor and a stylish haircut. I was nervous on the train, trying to focus on the novel of hers I'd taken from the Temple University Library, a book about a haunted house and a crazy girl named Eleanor who goes to stay there. Eleanor hated